Welcome to Different Makes a Difference, where we discuss investment matters that matter to everyday investors. Join Odlum Brown's equity analysts as we examine pertinent topics in today's markets and look at things a little differently. Odlum Brown is an independent Canadian investment firm. We provide integrated wealth management solutions to help clients achieve their financial goals, and we've been doing so for over 100 years. Join us for some lessons we've learned along the way that can make a difference for the future.
Hello and welcome to Different Makes a Difference. I'm Stephen Boland. I love summer. The weather is great, the days are long, we're outdoors more, and we're active. And this year, as an added bonus, we get to take in the World Cup. Now, you may have noticed one big change at the World Cup this year. In the middle of each half, they stop for a hydration break. So the world of soccer has officially recognized the importance of water. Though that said, they may also like the opportunity to add more commercials. Either way, I think we all appreciate water a little more in the summer. The ability to turn on a tap and get clean water is truly a marvelous thing. And there's a whole industry that operates behind the scenes to make that a reality. Cory has spent time going through the industry, and it has led to his newest stock pick, a company called Veralto. He's with us today to discuss. Thanks for joining, Cory.
Thanks for having me.
So, Cory, I've recommended companies in the water industry before, but it recently caught your eye as well. What made you look at water, and what did you discover?
So we started looking at the sector for two reasons. We see a tremendous opportunity to build out the water infrastructure in a world with increasing water scarcity. Stocks are also trading at a very attractive valuation. So we initially focused on the utilities and the ones building the infrastructure. And we'd be happy to own a name like American Waterworks. But Veralto stood out because it's a more profitable business and has many of the attributes that we look for in a new idea. They sell products to water utilities, so they use their products every day, and they have wonderful economics. So we actually think they can grow faster than the underlying utilities, and we like the management too.
So tell us a little bit more about Veralto. I wouldn't think very many people would know what Veralto is.
No, it's definitely a different name in the space, and that's part of the appeal as well. So they have products and services that basically ensure that we have clean drinking water every day, and they can have clean water on the soccer pitch as well. The company provides high-tech water testing and monitoring equipment, as well as filtration and the chemicals that we use to eliminate bacteria in water. So these processes are not only important from a safety perspective, but they help reduce the waste that we have at utilities and optimize their infrastructure. Industries in technology and resources are also using more water, more than ever before, and that's thanks to AI. Veralto is doing a lot of the treating and testing that's critical to their operations as well. They have a packaging business that ensures food and pharmaceuticals are exactly what they say they are. And there's significant regulation around that business. So we have to make sure that nobody cuts any corners, that the labels on the product are accurate. So Veralto provides all of that printing equipment and all the related products that make that happen. And they'll do all the tracking as well.
So that sounds like two different businesses there. It's not just a water business.
Correct. The water business is about 60%, but the packaging business is also it's an attractive business. When we first saw it, we preferred to own a pure water play, but we realized along the way that the packaging business has a lot of the similar economics.
Okay. And how do we think about this company geographically? It's based in America, but is it just an American company, or do they have operations elsewhere?
No, Veralto is very much a global company. About half their business is in the US, about another quarter is in Europe, and then the other quarter is kind of scattered throughout the world in what they call high growth markets. So a lot of that's in Asia or Africa. And the nice thing for them is that even though half their business is in the US, there's a lot of different customers. So it's a very diverse customer base. Municipal utilities, there's tens of thousands of them, as opposed to electric utilities. So it's a very diverse customer base, and they have global exposure, which we think also helps the growth.
Okay. I want to get to growth in a bit, but you commented early that there's a lot of good businesses in this industry. and that Veralto is a particularly attractive one. What is it about Veralto that makes it such a profitable business, and why is it likely to stay that way?
Yeah. So both of their business segments benefit because they have mission critical products. So their customers simply cannot live without their products and services. They're embedded deep within the customer's operations. So they provide very stable and recurring revenue. And the customers then typically renew those contracts. So they renew contracts for equipment, for software, and they keep buying what they call consumable products. So that's water treatment, chemicals, testing kits, and color coded ink. That's very specialized to the products that they're selling. So this is kind of the razor blade model, which we really like and has proven to be an attractive model over the years. But I think what really makes it a especially attractive business that these are a relatively low cost within the business. So it doesn't make or break the customer's profit line, which allows you to increase prices every year without really much pushback from your customers. They also have high switching costs. These are, as I said, mission critical. So the cost of failure is really, really high. So nobody wants to change these. These have been customized for their operations, and Veralto has a great track record of providing wonderful service. And so as long as they continue to do that, we don't think the customers are going anywhere.
Yeah, I always find those businesses interesting where absolutely pivotal to the operations. And it just doesn't make sense to go to another supplier. You trust them with them for a long time, and it's just not worth it from a cost perspective. So
Yeah.
one of the things I also find interesting about Veralto is that it was a spinoff from Danaher. And Danaher is a company we know quite well since the early 1980s when two brothers, Mitch and Stephen Rails, took over. It's been one of the best performing stocks in the US over the past 40 plus years. So its history is with Danaher, but why is it out on its own now? Why is it no longer a part of Danaher?
Yeah. So Veralto was spun out of Danaher in 2023, and they've made dozens of acquisitions prior to that. And I think it really was just time. It is now a $20 billion market cap company. So it's become pretty big within Danaher and within that conglomerate model. So I think it was time for them to really focus on their own business and pursue their own growth opportunities. And I think it gets harder and harder to do that as you get bigger.
Yeah, it's always intriguing spin-offs because you get that dedicated management team now focused just on the water business. Was it neglected as part of Danaher? I know sometimes businesses, when they're part of a larger parent, don't get the attention that they deserve.
Yeah. No, that's a fair question. I think there's opportunity for improvement, but I don't think it was neglected. I think having just that sole focus on the Veralto business, which again is sizable, I think that's a good thing. Most of the management team is from Danaher. So that's, Jennifer Honeycutt is the CEO. She's a long time Danaher executive. She actually worked initially as a chemist in one of the businesses that they acquired. So she's been around that business a long time, knows it very well, and has acquired kind of that Danaher culture along the way as well. I think Danaher obviously has a proven track record. I think that's alive and well at Veralto. The idea is every process is optimized through continuous improvement. So all employees, everyone is encouraged to make a difference and contribute with what they call new kaizens, which is a Japanese word meaning change for the better. And so the entire company actually meets once a year to identify new opportunities and new kaizens that they can apply to their business and improve operations. So, and actually, as a standalone company, they've actually already made a few acquisitions, and they've identified 65 to 75 million in cost savings that they're going to pursue, both through synergies and also just optimizing the business as a standalone company.
Yeah, I've long admired the Danaher business system, and I've covered names that have Danaher roots. And a lot of companies talk about how they're good at optimizing operations, and optimizing isn't just from a cost standpoint. They're very good at going out and finding new drivers of revenue and optimizing working capital. But what differentiates Danaher and some of its associated companies is the rigor with which it applies the system.
Mm.
A lot of people talk the game, but they don't necessarily follow through on it. It's a way of life. It is their culture.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's flip over to the rate of growth. How fast do you expect earnings to grow at Veralto, and what's going to drive that growth?
Yeah, good question. So Management targets 10% or better earnings growth. And I think anytime you can get into double-digit earnings growth, that's pretty impressive and puts it in a pretty elite company. And this is going to come from a combination of those price increases we mentioned earlier, volumes, and acquisitions. We think the business can grow organically kind of 5 to 6% on the top line, and then acquisitions will kind of get them the rest of the way. But end markets are growing very nicely. We're using more water. And that's actually the first time in quite a while. Water usage had gone sideways for quite a while because of conservation, which is a good thing. But I think we're finally kind of coming out of that. And so we have a time where demand's increasing. And then really the big story is aging infrastructure. So most of the infrastructure in the US is 50 years old, needs upgrades, or may even need to be fully replaced. So there's an estimate that we need to spend about $100 billion annually on water infrastructure just in the US. And Veralto is obviously a global company that can participate outside of the US as well. So the other opportunity in North America is on the industrial side, where a lot of those businesses require ultra pure water. So that's cooling systems for data centers and semiconductors. And that water needs to be treated so that there's absolutely no impurities whatsoever. And so that's a great opportunity for Veralto because that's exactly what they do. They also have to minimize waste. I think regulation is going to increase. So there's a lot of opportunity for them on that front as well. And then there's the entire value chain. So on the mining side or power generation, they're all going to use more water as well. Nuclear in particular uses a lot of water. So we think Veralto can be a problem solver and they can help solve, those issues with a certain amount of waste and obviously to treat that water as well. Industrial customers are only about 10% of sales, but are growing in double digits. So we see a big opportunity for that to contribute to their growth, even though it is relatively small.
So that's the water side. 40% of the business is this packaging business as well. What's driving growth there?
So a lot of that comes down to regulation, and they are making acquisitions in that space too. But their customers really need to focus on having accurate labels, verifying their ingredients, tracking all the ingredients. So Veralto comes in and helps them optimize their supply chains and really helps them improve their business and meet those regulations that are increasing. So there's an opportunity to do more with those existing customers, and then I think to add more customers as well.
And then acquisitions. Danaher was very much built by acquisitions over those decades. Veralto has an acquisitive history as well. Is that going to continue? And sometimes companies get spun off with a bunch of debt, and maybe that hampers them a little bit. What's the case here with Veralto?
Well, the water industry, I think, is where there's the most opportunity. It's highly fragmented. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to consolidate those smaller competitors, but they're focused on quality. So they'll pay up to get the better business, and they want to make sure it fits with exactly what they already have. So they're not looking to do something where they're buying somebody who installs pipes. They want to buy business that's in kind of these niche areas that have excellent economics and where they can cross-sell and have some synergies putting those two businesses together. So this is where we come back to the Danaher culture. Veralto's very good at bringing people and operations together. They have a decentralized setup so that you can have businesses get bolted on, without too much difficulty, but then they still work with them to improve the operations and cross-sell. And so they get kind of the benefits of both sides of it.
Yeah. And it goes back to that Danaher business system. You can buy a company and implement your operating culture and the tools behind it and improve what you've bought. And just to comment on the balance sheet there, their capability to do acquisitions going forward.
Yeah. So that's one of the things we love about Veralto and definitely drew us to it when we were looking at all the different names. They have one of the best balance sheets in the sector. They are under-levered. They have the capacity probably to double the amount of debt that they have. And the business throws off a lot of cash. So between the cash that they generate, the leverage that they can add to the balance sheet, we think they can make a lot more deals and still have a really strong balance sheet in the end. So, but they'll be disciplined. Just because they can make the deals doesn't mean they will. I think, they'll pay up for quality, but it's not growth at any price.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to price now as it relates to Veralto. Like you've described a good business that's well run and has pretty good growth opportunities. Usually those things are reflected by a pretty full price in the stock market. What's going on here? Like why are you getting this company at an attractive price?
Yeah, it's a bit curious. Veralto's business has actually performed pretty well. So earnings are up about 25% in the last 3 years. And we see that growth accelerating. And I think if you look at most analyst estimates, they're kind of in that same range as well, where it's expected to get even better. But the stock has fallen back to kind of the similar range that it was in when it was spun out. So I think part of it is that the valuation was just really high to start with. Expectations were high. I think people liked the water story, especially coming out of COVID. That was a popular area of the market. And that's not so much the case now. I think a big part of that is people are focused on AI and they're focused on those beneficiaries. And while it is part of the Veralto story, it's not a big part. So it's not being kind of painted with that brush. So I think it's potentially flying under the radar a little bit. But I do think the benefits of the data center boom are underappreciated. They participate in a lot of the different areas that will need more water. So they can benefit, but they also have a very diverse business that is growing as well. So I think opportunity on both sides.
Yeah, and I think it's trading at a lower than stock market. Like if you look at the S&P 500, which is made up of 500 large American stocks, this company trades at a discount to that, doesn't it?
It does. So just a small discount to the market, but it's historically traded at a premium. And it's not just Veralto. The entire sector has historically traded at a premium. So Veralto's only been around since 2023. But if you go back further, you can look at a lot of their peers, and they've always traded at a premium. And if I spend a lot of time looking at utilities, and the electric utilities now trade at a premium to the water utilities. It was the other way around a few years ago. So, yeah. And the water utilities tend to grow faster, so they should trade at a premium. And I think Veralto fits that as well.
So it sounds like an above average company for a below average price. And that's always a great setup. So thanks for joining us today, Cory, and sharing that new idea. Veralto is a highly profitable company in an essential industry with good growth prospects and an excellent corporate culture. It's early summer. Hopefully we have a lot more ahead of us. And I'm sure we'll all be around, in, and drinking a lot more water. And next time you turn on your tap, you can think of Veralto. Thanks for joining. We'll talk again soon. Enjoy your summer.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Different Makes a Difference. Just as every individual is unique, so are your financial circumstances. Be sure to talk to your professional advisors for advice related specifically to you. Our podcast is for general information purposes for Canadians only. The views expressed are those of the presenters and may not reflect the opinions of Odlum Brown. Be sure to check out our full disclaimer and subscribe to the podcast at odlumbrown.com/differentmakesadifference. Odlum Brown is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund.